Welcome back. Happy Friday. You did it. You made it to Friday, guys. Hit the like button. Here we go again. Let's talk. We got a lot to talk about. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Funker news thing. That's not news. It's just me talking to you guys and you guys yelling at me about stuff that I say wrong and pronounce the wrong way and all kinds of good, happy baloney. I appreciate you being here. But do hit the like button. Drop in the chat. Let me know you guys are chiming in. We got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm not being alarmist with the thumbnail and the title. I'm not. You know, call it what you want. But Russia has tested for the second time, successfully, a very large and very capable nuclear platform. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to announce a couple awesome new shirts that we just launched, or relaunched. I'm wearing one of them. The Ghost of Kyiv shirt is back. You know, it's not... It shouldn't be foreign to anybody that we generally are supportive of Ukraine's military prevailing. That's the best way for me to put that. That said, it's not blind. We're going to actually do our best to hold Ukraine a little bit accountable tonight based on information that we have at hand. Right? We're going to do our best to. But we're also going to go through all the latest footage that we have on the app and the website, funker530.com. If you guys don't mind, download the app. Consider signing up for Funker Premium. We've got 1 month free for all iOS users. I appreciate you being here. Let's get started. We are live, Christoph. Good to see you. What's going on? All right, let's bring it down. Before I get into the sponsor and all that, you can check the top right corner. I'll get to that and whatnot in just a little bit. First thing I want to talk about is going to be the thumbnail, right? I want to talk a little bit about the RS-28 Satan. Yeah, it escalated really, really rapidly. We're going to talk about the RS-28 Satan. We're going to talk about some of its capabilities. This is not the first time we've seen it, but I'm going to pull up some graphics for us to take a look at. Some images to help put into perspective exactly how big this thing is, how generally capable it is as well. So give me a second to get all that stuff pulled up. I was running a little bit behind to get the stream started up today. Now, this is a really low quality image, but there's a dude standing in front of it, so I thought it'd be a really great one for us to start off, you know, with an eyeball on. Check that out. So this is the RS-28. The RS-28 Sarmat, or Satan. Now, it's a 208-ton liquid-fueled missile, right? What does that mean? 208-ton liquid-fueled. It's huge. And this is the second time Russia has announced successfully testing it. The last was back in April of this year. I want to say April 20th, something along those lines. We've known about this missile and its development now since, I want to say, 2016, maybe 2018. I get the two mixed up on announcement versus development. But it has an 11,000-mile range, and it's extremely fast. Now, there's a report that's going around saying something akin to, if launched, it could reach the UK in 6 minutes. I haven't done the math exactly in that. You know, this is really one of the first times I've started to dive into the RS-28 from a platform, from a capabilities perspective. But what's really interesting about this is it can not only have a single payload, but under most circumstances, it actually fires with up to 15 MIRVs, M-I-R-V. Now, MIRV stands for Multiple Independently Targetable Reentry Vehicles. So imagine a cluster munition, if you will. It's not really a cluster munition, but it fires as a big rocket, or a big missile, excuse me. I know there's a difference. I know there is. As a big missile, and it's not actually very high. We're going to talk about that here in a second. It's more along the along the Earth, since it's hypersonic. And once it reaches its target area, up to 15 individually targetable payloads are launched from it. Something that's of interest to you. It's each one of those individual payloads, reportedly, again, this is reported. This is all reportedly has the capability of up to about 1,000 times more than the bombs dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So from a capability perspective, it appears to be a very advanced, very capable, hypersonic, nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missile. Now, to bring this full circle for you, we're going to take a look at a quick video here. The glide vehicles for these, the Avangard, are already being provided and sent out to locations within Russia. More specifically, we're going to look at Orenburg here. To be honest with you, where in Russia doesn't really matter because of the range and capability on this. Now, the hypersonic glide vehicle essentially is what flies this missile. It's what I understand. I'm not a nuke guy. I don't have a deep understanding of it. Definitely not more advanced, missile technology like this. So you guys know. Feel free to correct me in the chat if I'm off base. But we're going to look at a graphic here that kind of explains flight path differences from like a conventional ballistic missile to a hypersonic missile here in just a second. This is one of those glide vehicles. And again, that's just the go fast part of it. Right now, let's look at a quick graphic to help kind of explain the difference from a technology perspective and how they work. Here you go, coming up now. This is from the source for this is down at the bottom, but it's the Congressional Research Service. Here you are. So like I mentioned, there's a different trajectory for conventional ballistic missiles between Mach 1 and Mach 5. Hypersonic, a little bit closer to nap of the Earth, but it has to be at least Mach 5. And again, there is going to still be some alarmism coming from Russia on this. But the announcement, if we're to take the announcement at face value, was that this is the second successful test of the RS-28. All right, let's bring it back up. I'm going to pause here for a second, turn some music back on, and hang out in the chat. What kind of music is that? Let's go back to State of Dystopia. It's way better. Russia bluffing? Maybe? Maybe there's not a whole lot reporting on this. I want to say the Sun Times or something, if I'm not mistaken, reported it. Checking in on the chat and on the support. Boomer Harris, thanks for the 334. Welcome. How are you, buddy? Looks like a rejigged R7 Soyuz rocket core stage. Hey, man, we're starting to get definitely outside of my normal wheelhouse here. Torek, thank you for the $2. Hello, Ronnie, 1 to 10. How close are we all to dying? I don't know, like that amount. Any given Sunday? That one's a loaded question, boss. But it's a good one. Dave, thank you very much for the 9 months, brother. Robert, thank you very much for the 7 months. Chris for the 4 months. And Greg for the 3 months. All right, I gotta talk a little bit about our sponsor for tonight. That's gonna be EuroOptic. Don't let the name fool you. EuroOptic is actually really amazing. They're awesome people right out of Pennsylvania, United States. Everything from optics to binos to accessories for your pew items, your fishing poles, your shovels, whatever you want to call them. Gardening tools. I like to refer to them as gardening tools. Don't tell me what I can dig a hole with and what I can't. I buy from EuroOptic under most circumstances. This is my Razor HD that I competed with. If you guys want to see video and stuff of me competing using the stuff that I bought from EuroOptic before we had a relationship with them, check out Instagram. They've got red shipping for 1 and 2 day arrival. And when they say it's in stock, it's actually in stock. Now, that's unlike one of their competitors that I won't say out loud, but it's definitely not... Unlike their competitors, when it says it's in stock, it's actually in stock. Check the link. That's going to take you to their Facebook. I can't link you direct to their website. It's EuroOptic.com. I can't link you there because they do sell firearms. YouTube's rules, not mine. Go check it out. They're awesome people up there. They'll do you right. Telegram is launched. We have launched our Telegram. I need to set up a command for it so you guys can like easily jump over to the Telegram. We're going to be doing Telegram specific stuff that we can't post to the website. We're about to watch a video here in a second that under many circumstances we probably would have posted there, but we felt that this one needed to go to the website. And it's going to be a hard discussion to have. So we might be a little on the lighter side right now, but things are about to get very serious. All right, let's turn the music back down here. So go check out Optics Planet, or definitely go check out Euro-Optic, not Optics Planet. Don't get me started. I read Optics Planet in the chat. Euro-Optic, again, American company. Don't let the name fool you. Amazing people over there. Who runs Telegram? We all do. We all have the access to run the Telegram. Or are you talking about like overarching who runs Telegram? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Can't be any worse than who runs YouTube. You know, big tech. Torque, thanks again for the 2. Ronnie, Kyiv Rus Reborn when? I don't know, man. Speaking of which, we've got 2 new shirts that launched, guys. The Ghost of Kyiv shirt is now back out. I told you it would come back, and let's talk about the proceeds for that. No, we are not going to ever profit off of any designs based around the war in Ukraine. 100% of proceeds from any design that is specific to Ukraine from now forward will go to GSMSG, Global Surgical and Medical Support Group. GSMSG is actually a really amazing organization that you need to be following along with. They've been in Ukraine since February. These are former Special Operations Forces medics, surgeons that are on ground providing surgery, tactical combat casualty care training, doing really amazing work. We actually accompanied them to Ukraine. Will did, if you guys remember. So when you guys buy a Ghost of Kyiv shirt or hat, 100% of those proceeds are going to go to GSMSG, 501c3 organization. Okay? Wouldn't wear one. That's okay. You don't have to. So let's talk about the, kind of the biggest video that I wanted to cover tonight. What you're about to watch, and, for those of you in the chat that think we have, just some blind support for any country outside of my own, I fly one flag on my porch. All right, relax. We're going to watch something that's a little bit tough to watch. Now, I'm going to have to stop this at a certain point in the video. I'm going to refer you back to the website so you can go watch the entirety of the video. Then we're going to come back here. We'll wait around, and we'll talk about it. What you're going to see here are Russians surrendering. And during these Russians surrendering, one of them decides that he doesn't want to surrender and opens fire on the Ukrainians, opens fire on his captives. What ends up happening after this is what we're going to talk about. Video is coming up for you guys right now. There's copywritten music on the backside, but we're going to...
Давайте, блядь, по одному нам. Офіцер, хто з вас? Всі вийшли? Виходь давай.
Андрюха, як чувствуєшся?
All right, that's all we can watch here. That's all we're going to watch here. Now, I'm going to give you the link to that video, and if you want to watch the rest, I'll tell you what happens. What ends up happening, and this is actually a second video that many folks on the internet have spliced into one video because we can tell it's a second video. It's a different perspective. It's coming from a drone. What ends up happening is all of those Russian POWs end up being killed, and a drone perspective footage shows you a top-down view of those Russian soldiers surrounded by their own blood. So let's talk about that. And let's talk about what that potentially would mean, okay? Now, first and foremost, what you just saw would technically be considered a war crime, right? Regardless of which side you look at it, to a certain extent. Feigning that you are about to surrender and then turning on your captors, that is against Article 37 of the Geneva Convention, okay? Now, I tweeted about this. I'll give you guys a link to the tweet, and it's got much more of my thoughts. On the flip side, shooting your POWs, regardless of what just happened, cannot be found to be justified. Under almost no circumstance should that be justified. In my opinion, and I have a much longer write-up on my thoughts on this over on Twitter, because I'm not going to spend too much time on it, Ukraine needs to find these individuals, and they need to be charged. Here is why. While we don't know what happened between the first video and the second video, under almost no circumstance would that have been justified, right? The top-down view provides a lot of information. It does. Not a lot of it doesn't look like any of those Russians that were on the ground moved. Again, go to the website. This video is linked in the description. Watch the entirety of it, and then come back here. Rewind so that we can finish talking about it. Ukraine has shown restraint in this situation before. If you guys recall, we had this video. Now, in this video, a surrendering Russian pulls a grenade. And at one point, after he pulls that grenade, they kill that guy that pulls the grenade. But you can hear them specifically state not to target the other POWs. Now, context is different. These are different Ukrainians, right? I don't know anything outside of what I'm seeing on video. Still, under very few circumstances in my brain, would that be justified, if any at all? Think they actually murdered them or just caught in the crossfire of the LMG? That was one of the other pieces that I actually wasn't going to really talk about because I don't know. I don't know. It's really difficult to say that based on the way they're still kind of lined up down there. Now, if they ended up getting caught in the crossfire of the LMG, I would assume that the Ukrainian would have identified that. The machine gunner would have been able to see, oh, I'm hitting the other POWs. I might want to pull off of this burst. That's the way my brain takes that. And again, that's why I said under very few circumstances would something like this be justified. I want to go back to that video. We're going to watch it again. Now, again, I urge you guys to check out Article 37 of the Geneva Convention. I'm not going to dive too far down into that. In fact, Will does jump into it a little bit here. Perfidy is the specific word you're looking for here. Let's watch this again.
Офіцер, хто з вас? Всі вийшли? Виходь давай.
So right at that point, this Russian technically committed a war crime. Would that justify what ends up following next? No. No, it wouldn't. And to be quite honest with you, as I wear a Ghost of Kyiv shirt, I'd like to note that. As I wear this shirt, because generally speaking, I'm supportive of Ukrainian military success. I'm going to say that again. I'm supportive of Ukrainian military success. They still need to be held accountable for this. There is no justification for it, based on the information at hand. I'll do the obvious CYA at the end there. We're going to pause here for a second. I'm going to check in on the chat. Ronnie, since we don't have full video of the whole thing, is it possible the other Russians got hit by crossfire, accidental misfire, crossfire, or execution? Definitely need an investigation. Investigation is absolutely necessary. That being said, I kind of answered the crossfire piece to that before. I can imagine a couple. A couple took a round or two in the leg, right? Maybe even perished from crossfire. But I would assume that once that Ukrainian identified, if a Ukrainian, machine gunner in the crossfire was hitting all of those other POWs. Once he identified that he was hitting POWs, at that point non-combatants, that he would pull off of that burst. Again, supporting an organization doesn't mean you can't hold them accountable, right? I support Ukraine's hopeful and ultimate success, Ukraine's military success in pushing Russia out. I don't necessarily support Ukraine as an organization, as a government, as anything beyond that. I absolutely love Ukrainian people. I've been introduced to some amazing Ukrainian people. I've got Russian civilian friends, right? If it's between the Russian military and the Ukrainian military, I hope that the Ukrainian military comes out on top here. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be held accountable. The Geneva Convention doesn't stop your chain of command to holding you to a standard, right? The uniform, and I'll give you an example. In the U.S. Armed Forces, I would hope that the UCMJ would take action here. Innocent until proven guilty. At what point do you prove guilt here, right? They're all alive, and then there's a cut, and then they're all dead. I'm wearing a Ghost of Kyiv shirt. Like actively right now. Hoping that you'll pick one up to benefit charity. Again, under very few circumstances can I see something like this being justified. Investigation for sure, yep. I'll not judge these young men in combat. Oh, I'm not. That's why I said their chain of command needs to hold them accountable. If Ukraine wants a leg to stand on for this is profound. This is a great way to put this. So thank you very much, one idiot. If Ukraine wants a leg to stand on for going after Russia for war crimes, they have to be accountable for their own, and they do. They absolutely do. Esh Daddy, thanks for the 10. A 50-pound rabbit's a big rabbit. That would be a fat rabbit. Listen, if you're a fat rabbit, you're a fat rabbit. All right? There's no shame in that. But you're still a fat rabbit. Let's move on. That was one that we couldn't not cover, right? Had to cover that one. All right, let's move into, I don't know, some Russian war crimes. Let's do that. Yeah, got plenty of that stuff. We're going to look at some footage of some cruise missiles getting intercepted over Kyiv in a spectacular fashion. More specifically, I think both of these are Kalibr cruise missiles. We're also going to see some cruise missile footage hitting population centers again. Why? Coming up for you guys right now. This one's pretty wild.
Оно, смотри, так рядом, буерки, наверное. Ёб твою мать. Взорвали? Взорвали, да.
Взорвали, да, ракету, да?
Да. Вот, еще одна, сука!
That's just wild to live through. Imagine, and Josh said this in the analysis, imagine just stepping out on your back deck for a cigarette and a beer, and suddenly a missile just flies over your head.
Взорвали, да, ракету, да?
Да. Вот, еще одна, сука! Пизда, нахуй! Я хуею! Ебать! Мы даже не видим, чем сбивает, да? Даже не видно, чем сбивается.
В засадах сидять, так что ёлки-палки.
All right, we got another one coming up here. I actually had my script a little bit out of order here. I wanted to start with Kyiv. This one kind of just as fascinating to watch. This is from the 15th, about 3 days ago. Once again, you're watching a cruise missile fly over your head into your city, into DC. DC is the closest metropolitan area to me. Just so you guys know, I'm really far away, but I live in the sticks, all right? You're just watching a cruise missile fly overhead, and then anti-air intercepts it, all while you're trying to eat your borscht. That's nuts, man. All right, coming back up. Let alone seeing a cruise missile shot down over your neighborhood, right? It's terrifying. I love missile intercepts. I mean, I like to see missile intercepts, definitely, especially over those population centers, right? If somebody can give me a valid reason to target a population center with a cruise missile, I would be very grateful, because I still cannot understand why, and we're going to go to Chernihiv now. Cruise missiles are just landing in the middle of the street. For what? Torek, thank you very much for the $2. Ronnie, you're just giving us such a happy stream. They can't all be happy, boss. You know, sometimes we're on the lighter side of things, and I warned you ahead of time. But you can't not talk about footage like that one. You can't not talk about it, right? You can't sweep that under the rug, kind of like the Polish missile. Where's that? Why isn't anybody talking about that anymore? Where'd that go? As far as I'm tracking on the Polish missile, let's actually cover a little bit of that. As far as I'm tracking, let's turn the music on a little bit. Well, why? As far as I'm tracking, there are Ukrainian investigators going on ground. But since that story dropped, nobody's talking about it anymore. Am I wearing long pants? No. No, I'm not. Checking in on our Telegram really quick. There's another video I wanted to show you guys. Not yet. Not yet. Jay, thanks for the 2. No, that was a missile. Not a car bomb. Check the lat long. All right. So I received a ton of messages about that. Let's talk about the lat long for a second. I received a ton of messages. Hey, I just wanted to inform you about the lat long. I'm tracking that if you swap the lat and long for Kyiv and Lviv, you end up getting general lat long coordinates for the village that was hit. I'm tracking that. At best, it's a very good one. At best, right now, that is coincidental. Right? At best. My understanding of these systems is that they're going to use much longer lat long coordinates than the lat long that's being used and passed around right now. Until we have more data, more information, more of this analysis that NATO conducted, which I'm inclined to believe at the moment. You know, everybody's saying they don't believe the NATO information, and in the same breath, they don't believe the Ukrainian information. I'm inclined to believe the NATO story at the moment. Right, I made that very clear on Wednesday. But until we have more information about that, the speculation is just not going to be helpful. It really isn't. I hear the missile was fired by Alex. I've seen that one a few times. All right, let's turn the music back on. I've got some support coming in. I appreciate it. One Idiot thanks again for the 5. I don't know why that keeps muting my music, but you know, we'll get this all figured out at some point. Torek, thanks again for the 2. The 2 before that. Esh Daddy, thank you for the 10. 12 time 12. Thanks for the 10. It could have been the Russians who killed his friends. The hardliners don't like deserters and constantly say they want executions. You're absolutely right. And words matter. Words matter very much. And something that I stated is under very few circumstances. So what I'm kind of getting at there is leaving room. It's a CYA. Ultimately, that's what it is. You know, I'm something that I always have to do. But where I'm going with that is we don't have all the information. And I said that very, very specifically. Between the first video and the second video, we have no idea what happened. We don't. What we can see at face value, though. And remember, perception ends up being reality. 9/10 of the law. Whatever, you know, whichever one of those sayings you want to use. What is this music? Thank you. Whatever one of those sayings you want to use. As it stands right now, at face value, there needs to be an investigation into the Ukrainians that were there. Hit the like button. Please do hit the like button. Thank you very much for it. You have no idea about anything, you fool. You fool. Never said I did. I'm gonna allow that comment. Never said I did. I don't claim to be an expert on any of this. All right, let's move on to our next bit of footage that we've got. We're going to move down into Kherson. So the first footage that we've got coming out of Kherson is going to be a little bit of situational, some context footage of abandoned Russian positions. I don't know exactly where in Kherson. Thank you, lovely. Oh, she brought me some One Nation. Thanks, babe. We've got abandoned Russian positions here in Kherson. Note the amount of munitions, ammo, launchers, etc. that you're going to find here.
Накрыло дурачку.
We're going to see a couple videos like this tonight. We're actually going to take a peer into Russia, into some of their mobilized troop statuses in the snow. All right, let's bring that back up. This next one might be a little bit difficult to watch, kind of regardless of you know, what you're seeing. What you're going to see are Russians on the Dnipro in Kherson. On the Ukrainian side now, right? So that would be the left bank. Well, it's the west bank, and it's not the left bank. It's actually the right bank, but the left side as you're looking at a map. Sabotaging civilian vehicles, all right? So they're sabotaging, or not civilian vehicles, excuse me, civilian watercraft. Now, when they pull off, and once they're done attempting to sabotage these watercraft, and I say civilian watercraft, they could very well be used by Ukrainian military. So please don't, you know, take that as anything but me saying they're sabotaging watercraft. As they pull off of that, they start to take friendly fire. Might be difficult to watch.
Нет, это отлично. Эту мелкую не будем? Мелкую расстреляй. Движок расстреляй. Стой, свои! Что? Свои!
I'm fucking muted. I'm muted again, guys. Oh my God. Oh, that's going to be it for tonight, folks. I can't handle this. I can't handle this. This time I'm going to tell you it was purposeful, and we're going to pull a Russia here. We're going to say that I did it on purpose. It's a feature of the stream, not necessarily technical difficulties that I still can't figure out how to use, even though I've had this same setup now for the last 6 months. I just saw a comment in the chat, though. Here's what I was telling you. Here's what I was telling you. Oh, by the way, if you do purchase one of our shirts, other than the Ghost of Kyiv, it does go towards getting me some mute button training. I saw a comment in the chat that said, "Did you guys stop simping for Russia yet?" I'm not sure how to field that question, man. You know, if it's not, why are you guys supporting Ukraine? It's why are you simping for Russia? I think that's really one of the only ways to know that you're kind of driving as close to a middle line as possible. I'm just going to be honest with you on that. You can support the successful outcome of Ukraine's military expelling Russia without being, in blind support of all of the other issues that are going on in Ukraine right now. I fly one flag on my front porch. That's it. Dr. Larry Johnson, thank you for the $10 for covering the POW potential Geneva violation by Ukrainian forces. It's important to uphold war crimes against all violations. You're absolutely right, it is. And it's not something, again, I'm going to say it again, you can't not talk about that. Sonny or Chris, thanks for the $4.99. Friendly fire, it sucks to suck. Friendly fire isn't. Remember that. Especially with a sucking chest. All right. Let's move on to the next video that we've got here. We've got some precision artillery hitting Russian armor. This is down near Kherson, but I want to pull up a map for it. It's not an area that we've talked about in the past. So we're going to go to Understanding War. We're going to talk about Oleshki. Map's coming up for you guys right now. And, you know, the funny thing is I was drinking my coffee. I was looking at the mute button. I was like, okay, you're muted. But the comment about, simping for Russia, it's just it caught me way off guard. Let's pull up Oleshki here. Kherson, Oblast, Ukraine. All right. Let me orient you to where we're about to watch this footage from. Here we are. Institute for the Study of Wars map. I definitely simp for the Institute for the Study of War. I'm not afraid to say that. This is Oleshki. Note the location. It is across the Dnipro. And there haven't been many changes to the Kherson front. Right? Now, I expected to see a few changes, were Ukraine to have been successful on Kinburn, but we still don't see ISW doing that. There are more up-to-date, I say that loosely, up-to-date maps that are being passed around on Twitter. I'm going to continue to state this, continue to foot stomp this. The reason that I use ISW is they do their best to actually validate the information that they're putting on the map. They provide a source. If you don't believe it, you can go check the source and choose for yourself whether or not to believe it. These other maps that you'll find floating around Twitter is just, and no offense to them, because ultimately that's how you end up getting finished intelligence is through individual sources. I prefer to use something with multi-source on it. Now, I am forced to use open source intelligence on this, and ISW uses only open source intelligence. So that's the reason that you guys will always see me refer to ISW's map rather than any of the great other open source researchers that are out there kind of independently tracking the war. I do want to take a look at kind of the current state of things in Zaporizhia. This is an area that we are going to see some footage of tonight. Actually, it's closer to Dnipro up here, but I have that listed in our Zaporizhia part of the stream. Not a whole lot of change here as well. I do still expect this to be a major front coming up. There are reports that indicate that the reallocation of combat power from Kherson for Russia is moving to Zaporizhia. Now, here in the east, along the Kreminna-Svatova line, still very heavy fighting that's taking place. On the drive back towards Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. We're also going to see some footage of Bakhmut here in a little bit today. Checking in on the chat. ISW is good. They link all their sources. Exactly. Right. Miss T-Mag, thanks for the $5.99. Hey, I might not agree with everything you say, but guess what? I still 100% love this channel. Thanks very much for that. If you are only watching this channel and taking what I say, what we put out as your primary source of information, you're doing yourself a disservice. I have an opinion, and my opinion matters as much as you allow it to. It should not hold a whole lot of weight. I'm just going to be honest with you. Most people say, follow me to the end. Don't follow me to McDonald's, unless you really want to. Does that make sense? If you're only watching this channel, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you're only watching raw footage, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? That's one of the challenges and problems that that I personally end up running into quite often, is we focus so heavily on just looking at raw footage that we don't end up seeing sometimes the larger context to things, right? We're trying to move the stream that way. That's why I started to break things out by location. We used to just go through the list of the latest videos. But we're so, at Funker 530, we're so heavily focused on making sure that we're getting as much of this footage as we have time to do, right? We're also trying to keep the website up. We're trying to, manage and maintain all the socials. We're trying to manage and maintain our partnerships across industry, development work on the app, making it look pretty, making it feel good, moderating it. The only people that moderate the website is the Funker team. It's just us, right? So we're trying to walk this stream further and further towards taking the raw footage and putting it into a larger contextual picture, but that's not going to happen overnight. Big Mac and a milkshake? Dude, I haven't had a Big Mac in a long time. Let's move into the next bit of footage that we have. I mentioned Zaporizhia. Once again. And this is actually Dnipro. But once again, we've got cruise missiles landing in population centers. Don't give us the struggle song. You probably have no idea, man. There's only 5 of us. But once again, we just watched more footage of cruise missiles landing in population. Like, I just cannot understand or justify cruise missiles falling in just the middle of the road. Right? I can understand hitting military targets. I can understand hitting bridges, trains, military targets. But this one I don't get. I don't understand it. Long time no see. What's going on, Ozzy? Thanks for being here. 12 times 12. 12 times 12. Thanks for the 10. Much respect, Ryan. Don't let the haters drag you down, brother. Oh, you won't. They won't. It's fine. I oftentimes do engage a little bit on, the negative comments and such. And that's less to feed the wildlife and more to just try and help people understand thought process, right? There's thought that goes into the videos that we post. There's thought to the way we set up, the app, the website. This stream, there's thought behind it. A lot of it, actually. It began February 24th, but it was, being designed back in November of 2021 when we launched the edited when we launched the edited videos. I'm not afraid to engage. I'm not afraid to have a conversation. I'm not afraid to be proven wrong. I think you guys understand that at this point. Maybe there was a military target and that's not anymore. That you would use a cruise missile on in the middle of the road? Show me on the screen where there's a military target. Now, I get it. There's a lot out of frame here. But that's landing at furthest, what, 150, 200 meters from his Vic? Stop it. Get some help. All right, let's move on to our next one that we've got. We've got some footage coming out of Kharkiv in the east. We're going to be shifting into the east here. Power substations. If you're saying that in the context that it's a military target, it's actually a war crime to target power substations. This specifically, let's see if I have Pavlika in the east. Coming up for you guys now. What you're going to see here is a Lancet drone targeting a Ukrainian tank. We've seen a lot of footage of Lancets lately. Umbrella Biolab was in a sewer. They're trying to vaporize the mosquitoes. That's what they're doing. So this was reported to be, again, a Lancet. There's just been such a major influx of Lancet footage over the last 2 or 3 weeks, like a lot of it. Whereas earlier on in the war, we were barely getting anything out of Russia. To be honest with you, that wasn't just photos and pictures of dead people. You know. Everything's a war crime these days. War crime itself is kind of oxymoronic, isn't it? Isn't that just weird? Aren't the words war crime like mashed together kind of weird in the first place? That was something I was thinking about earlier. Kind of one of those shower thoughts. Just like, wait a second. Kind of interesting. The next one's actually a compilation of photos. There was a railway station that was reportedly destroyed by partisans. I don't have... Stand by. Let me get the video pulled up for you guys here. Here it is. This is what I wanted to look at here. Ilovaisk. Ilovaisk? Help me out with this, guys. Reportedly destroyed by partisans. We'll bring up a map, and I'll give you some context on where this is, though. I know how to find it. I just don't know how to pronounce it. Now, this is deep into Russian-held Ukrainian territory. There you go. That's where this took place. Right there. More context as I pull out. And it was reportedly destroyed by partisans, Wolverines kind of stuff. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts. I'm gonna give you this full screen. Let me know in the chat what you think it was. Also, I hear his calendar is going to be coming out soon. It's a calendar model. See, this photo is what makes this really interesting to me. Look at that hole right there. Danny Bay, thanks for being here, man. This guy's getting memed. Yeah, he is. And what's that? That's something I didn't get a chance to do any research on. What is that? Not trying to be adversarial, but wasn't a certain military caught using magnesium shells? Yeah, Russia. Absolutely. More than once. Less than a billion times. somewhere but in that range. Hi, Mars. Hi, Mars. Fish fart, I salute you back. Hi, Mars. Is that a piece to a GMLRS? Is that what you're saying? Is this the Poland site? No, it's not. This is deep in Russian-held Ukrainian territory. In Donetsk. Ben, that's Hi, Mars. Okay. Cock ring. Is that where I left that? All right, let's move on. Thanks for all the follows on Twitter, guys. All right, we're moving forward here. I kind of skipped around all of the videos that I had set aside. Ah, there we are. Now, I mentioned Bakhmut earlier, and just to give you a some perspective here, that brown dot there is where we were just looking. And then more perspective as we pull out. I mentioned Bakhmut earlier. This one's actually kind of fun to watch. Ukrainians destroying Russian machine guns. There's copyrighted music on the backside. I think this one's a dud, if I recall. What's your Twitter? At Ronnie Adkins _. Come on, do something. Extra points if you can tell me the weapon system there. They'll never find it underneath this blue tarp. I want to watch that dud one more time. Because I think they actually cut the explosion. Boy, what are you doing? Oh, we got a visitor.
Hey, big guy, what are you doing? Ah, here's my boy.
This is Zeus. Hit the like button for me, please, and thank you. Don't look away now. Oh, yeah, I missed it. All right, let's go back. Let's go back. All right, here's the dud. Here's the dud. Something very important just happened, and I had to look away. Because I think they just cut, and then it shows up again, and it's suddenly missing. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. See, you're here, and it's just sitting there, and then there's a cut in the video, and then it's gone. Was there and then it's gone. Now, when they scroll forward, are they saying that it got thrown out there? If so, that's kind of funny. Where'd that shovel come from? All right, let's bring it back up. Now my dogs have to be hugs. Everybody take a time out. Go hug your dogs. Or pet your cat. Pet your kitty. Bremer, thanks for the 10 very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Steel 6 Whiskey. Hey, if you're wondering, Ghost of Kyiv shirt's back. Yeah, I know it's kind of an old design, but I still love it. And if you guys pick one up, all proceeds support Global Surgical and Medical Support Group, 501c3 organization that's been on ground in Ukraine since February, early March. They're actually on ground providing TCCC training, tactical combat casualty care. They're also providing actual surgery. These are amazing people. We actually accompanied them on one of their latest trips to Ukraine. Will did. There's a bunch of videos on the site for that if you guys would like to go check it out. We don't take a dime from the Ghost of Kyiv designs, but there's also a hat and a hoodie if you'd rather that. But there's also the Wreck the Halls shirt, and we're going to show you guys that here in just a little bit. All right, let's move on to the next one that I've got. I wanted to show you guys this video, and then what we're going to do is we're actually going to go back and we're going to talk about the RS-28. We're going to cover that again. I wanted to show you guys this video of newly mobilized Russian soldiers in Voronezh. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but let's take a look at the map and you know, I'll show you where it is. All right, we're jumping into Russia here. All right. So this is where we're about to take a look at some footage of mobilized soldiers in the snow. Kind of give you a better understanding of their current state, if you will. All right.
Да что нахуй пиздите, он еще может приедет, блядь, через неделю. Ну а если приедет, блядь, что? Лейтенант, я тебе отвечаю, что он сейчас скажет находиться всем здесь.
Yes, we got one!
100%.
Yes! Oh, welcome in, sir. Hold on, time out. Everybody say hi to sir. I don't know if you guys were tracking, but apparently the Ghost of Kyiv was fake. Imagine that. Wow, that's new to me. All right, let's go back to the video. Anyway.
Да что нахуй пиздите, он еще может приедет, блядь, через неделю. Ну а если приедет, блядь, что? Лейтенант, я тебе отвечаю, что он сейчас скажет находиться всем здесь, блядь, 100%.
Оружие не получает, парень. Только ловушка не уедет.
Yeah, I guess he was fake. I mean, who could have guessed? That's weird. Wild. All right, let's check in on a couple other things that I wanted to see before we got things rolling here. We're going to see some footage of a Russian artillery line. Coming up for you guys now. Some good, fresh propaganda coming out of Russia. Coming back up. And what I want to do now, before we move on, there's one that we didn't watch yet. And I actually have this one over there. I just skipped over it earlier. We're going to see footage from, it's not, turret cam? Would turret cam be a thing? I don't know. But we're going to watch a Ukrainian tank crew engaging Russian positions with its main gun. Don't have any information on where exactly this took place. But it's I love watching tank footage, you know, because there's all these narratives out there now. This theory that you know, tank warfare is dead. I think we're watching it not be at the moment. Now, we've seen footage of these guys before. This is the same unit that posted footage from inside the tank that showed some of their optics tracking. I want to say it was out to 1,600 meters. You could actually see a little bit about what they were targeting. This one, though, didn't have a whole lot of that additional context. Ronnie, is there a way to inform Ukrainian government or military GPS coordinates of rescue facility with 2 volunteers, 700 plus animals from other side of river in Kherson? Worried about friendly fire SOS situation. I would have no idea where to send you, CZ. I would have no idea. I would say that you'd be welcome to join the Discord, and there are even Ukrainian translators in there that might be able to connect you with somebody. But we can probably find a way through the community to do that. Love the content around it. Baby Draco, thanks for the 10. Guys, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind tapping on the like button for us, it's an easy way, free way to support the stream. The other way, if you'd like to monetarily support us, is of course Super Chats here. We appreciate it. We're a small team. They go very, very, very far. But the other way is to make sure it all comes back to us is to sign up for a Funker Premium account. You get an ad-free experience. You get a lot of awesome discount codes. We've got a brand new discount code coming from ATN. They've got some really high-end optics, some extremely capable optics that you're only going to get this discount code from us because they don't run codes anywhere. But you'll get a merch discount code for the Funker merch, including Ghost of Kyiv, including our newest shirt, which I want to show you guys right now. So I'm going to head to the merch page. I haven't shown anybody this yet. All right, I always get this question. What is this song? This song's called Hyperdrive. Hyperdrive. All right, let's jump back to the website here. This is one that I wanted to show you guys. This is allegedly drone footage of a Russian soldier, and we're in our unknown location footage at this point. I just forgot to mention that. We don't necessarily have specific location details for any of these. But this footage is allegedly a Russian soldier surrendering to a drone. Now, for obvious reasons, we can't validate this one way or another, but here's the footage for you. Or drone footage of a Russian surrendering, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and burn a discount code for the Funker store, !merch, Jamsheed10. Jamsheed10, Jamsheed 10. Get you 10% off. And if you order before December 6th, it's guaranteed to get there before Christmas. You know, Bunker Branding, another creator-driven organization, we're very proud to, partner with Bunker Branding on our merch. If you guys know Demo Ranch, Matt, I got the chance to meet him. You guys have heard that story before. Amazing people over there, and they are absolutely killing it. When we first launched our Ghost of Kyiv and Russian warship shirts, we sold over 10,000 of those shirts in 2 weeks. And it did take them a little bit of time to get those all shipped out, but they eventually got them all shipped out. We kind of caught them off guard with it, but they've been awesome. Jamsheed, the RPG god. That's the man. Yep. All right. So I think what I want to do is I want to circle back because let's talk a little bit about the thumbnail. And you guys know that I like to kind of rehash some of the key talking points and discussion topics that we had. I want to talk a little bit about the RS-28, the Sarmat. Based on the title, Some of you might be wondering, why is the title say that and he's talking about other footage? Well, that's because this show is designed around the footage, not necessarily just the stuff we start the stream with. This is the RS-28. It's absolutely massive. It's huge. But where this thing starts to get very interesting is some of its capabilities. Russia launched that they have successfully conducted its second test of the Sarmat missile. And there are reports. I'm not a missile guy. I'm not a rocket scientist. We've covered this before. There are reports that this thing is extremely capable. Now, from a capability perspective, I could tell you that it has a range of around 11,000 miles, something like 16,000 miles an hour. It is hypersonic. So what hypersonic means is it has to be, I want to say Mach 5, Mach 6 or better. The way to bring that into perspective is the reports that I have read state that based on the test location originally of this, it can reach the UK in 6 minutes. About payload. The payload of this missile is actually kind of terrifying. So rather than, although it does have the capability to have a single massive payload, it is liquid fueled as well. It's 208 tons, I want to say. 208 ton liquid fueled missile. But inside, once it reaches its destination, it jettisons up to 15 MIRVs. No, not MARV. MIRV. MIRV stands for Multiple Independently Targetable Re-Entry Vehicles. So imagine it reaches the top, or it reaches its destination, and then 15 independently targetable payloads up to get launched out of this thing. Each of those with a capability, a payload 1,000 times larger than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These are actually being moved to the front. At least the Avangards are, which is the hypersonic glide vehicle. We're going to watch some footage of that right now. And I shouldn't say the front, so that's misleading you. These are being moved to Orenburg. Now, to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter where exactly in Russia that they move this thing to. It's got an 11,000 mile range. Thing has to come from a silo. That's what you're looking at here. Well, what you're looking at is the hypersonic glide vehicle. All ICBMs can carry MIRVs, yeah. All right, coming back up. So Russia has, this isn't the first we've heard about the RS-28. We first heard about that in 2016, then it began development in 2018. They tested it in April. I want to say it was April 20th, April 22nd, April 21st. It was in April, was its first test flight. They have announced a second successful test flight, and they are beginning to move, like I mentioned, those HGVs into Orenburg. I'll show you guys on a map where Orenburg is. And again, I'm not a missile guy. I'm not. So, my understanding and research of these is in its infancy. But something I do find interesting that I'm always trying to, improve my understanding of is capabilities. So let's go to Orenburg Oblast, Russia. All right, so your brown dot here is going to be where that was moved to. Just to the north of Kazakh. Ukraine here in the middle with all the red and blue. Now we can actually go to Google Maps and we can do some measurements if we really wanted to. take that out 11,000 miles so you can see really the distance. Matter of fact, let's do it. I'm curious. And I know there are definitely resources out there that'll let you do circle, radius type stuff. This is faster for me. All right, let's go to Orenburg. Orenburg, Russia. I'm going to give you full screen here. There's Orenburg. It's going to do some spinny aroundy thing. Nope, it didn't. We're good. Well, let's start to measure. We'll go by miles. So measuring, starting in miles, 11,000 of them. Yeah, pass. I'm a little upset that I did that. Half the globe. Yeah. Yeah, it goes really far. Really, really far. Yeah, I recognize it moved to the area, not necessarily the city, but that's the easiest for me to drop the pin and start moving things. Needs more range, to be honest. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I could use a little bit more. NATO has stuff too. Oh, I'm tracking. Yeah, absolutely. I get it. So that's a part of this that you always have to remember is NATO has its own capabilities. The United States has its own capabilities, right? With that are going to match or at least be similar to some extent. On paper, that's a good point, right? On paper, up to the invasion of Ukraine, and we're going to start about a 15-minute Q&A session here now that we're at the end of the stream. On paper, up to it, and even into the invasion of Ukraine, Russia was absolutely a bear. Was. All right, let's start up the Q&A. John, thanks very much for the $4.99. Thoroughly appreciate your candidness and insight of your team. Where's the raccoon? Saving Private Raccoon. I still can't... I need somebody to validate the offer of the 10 POWs for the raccoon. I want to know if that valuation is correct. That's what I want to know. There should be a Q&A live. If you guys have questions, drop them in there. That'll be the easiest for me to be able to follow them. If not, I'll be jumping back over to the live chat here. How long are your shorts today? Normal length, I guess. Yeah. Why would they want to nuke U.S. population? Why would they want to nuke the Ukrainian population? Or why would they want to bomb the Ukrainian population? Does Russia get more dangerous as they lose more? It's kind of a loaded question. And the way that I would answer it is probably, right? You kind of close your eyes and pin the tail on the scary with that one. Yeah. Yes, technically, because we know that there are capabilities that they haven't used. Nuclear, basically CBRN. But you have to wonder, based on mutually assured destruction, kind of the best benefit of having nukes, mutually assured destruction, whether or not things would ever really get that far, right? You have to assume, and maybe you don't have to, that might be a flaw of mine, that I assume the best, right? But you have to believe that Russia knows that no matter how many they have from a precision perspective, you cannot deny Western weapon systems at this point. We have the data. We have the technology to go back and say, are Western precision weapon systems outpacing Russian weapon systems? And they absolutely are. Okay, they're starting to flow in now. Your Spotify playlist. None of this is Spotify. This is from Epidemic Sound. We have a license to play all of this. Can you show footage of Jamshid? Absolutely. Jamshid, coming up. That's an easy one. I would be happy to do that. Be my downfall, baby. Why no working? Stand by. If I can't get the video to play, I'm going to give you guys a link for it in the live chat. There's a link for Jamshid, the RPG god. For some reason, the video doesn't want to play on my side today. Not sure what's going on with that. Let's go back to the questions. What's the best combat footage you've seen? What do you mean by best? Best is a loaded question. I would probably say the best that we have seen has been coming out of Ukraine, and that's just based on the advancement of technology, right? Now, I'm not gonna tell folks how to record footage for our documentary type purposes, but I just wish they would turn it sideways and stop putting music on it. Now, we did have a lot of really good footage to come out of the Syrian civil war, but YouTube deleted it all. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. That's one of the reasons that we focus so heavily on the app and on the website, is YouTube just deleted a ton of Syrian civil war footage. And a lot of this stuff really set conditions for what we're seeing now, right? We started to really see the first use of drones in the Syrian civil war, so that it kind of set a precedent for the same type of stuff we're seeing now. Now, Ukraine's been using drones, quadcopters, for actually a pretty long time. I did an edited episode on that back in November, December of last year. Earth's circumference, 24,902 miles. So that 11,000 covers pretty much the entire planet in any direction with a small section on the opposite side. Yikes. Could you pronounce Dnipro? Is that not how you say it? We've already had an issue with me trying to pronounce stuff. Cooking stream? I've done it before. Yeah, I cooked a steak back when I was on Twitch. What are your thoughts on the countermeasures for stopping the RS-28? I'm not informed enough on capabilities that we have to stop something that moves at the reported speed that moves. Again, I'm not a missile guy. It's something that I do want to start researching, though, especially after reading that headline and diving in a little bit. There's a lot that I don't know about that. There's a lot I don't know about a lot, but especially in that instance. Putin, of course, claims that there is nothing that can stop it. That's hard for me to believe. That's hard for me to believe based on what we know of U.S. defense spending. That's really difficult for me to believe. What's the minimum length silkies can be to still be within regulation? Preference is not past mid-thigh, right? That is by regulation. So, if they're past mid-thigh, you're out of regs. Have you seen any footage coming out of Africa? Are there any videos on the website? Absolutely. Yeah. So, say we went to the website, typed in Africa. The search function works very well. Here you go. It's already done. 3 months. This one was a wild video to watch. The Green Berets getting caught in a mob during the Guinea coup. Yep, lots of footage out of Africa on the site. There are over 3,700 videos on the site. Coming up. Is Ukraine or Russia winning the war? Stand by. I'm going to answer that the only way I know how, based on a map. Based on the closest thing to finished intelligence that I can present on this screen. Because if a war is defined by ground taken versus ground lost, then Ukraine is absolutely winning at this stage of the war, right? You can make the argument that, well, Russia still has a bunch of ground. If this were highlighted in blue in all of the areas that Russia once was, that they no longer are, at this point of the war, Russia is absolutely on the back foot. That's not deniable, right? To deny that because somebody told you to is doing yourself a disservice. At one point, when Russia invaded from Chernobyl, they made it all the way down to the Irpin River. They were within 25 kilometers of Kyiv, and they got pushed out. They bypassed all of these population centers to rush Kyiv and force capitulation, and they were stopped dead in their tracks. All of this ground was once previously held. This is just the latest stuff. So if you go off of ground taken versus ground lost, Ukraine's absolutely winning. If you go off of, is Russia still in Ukraine, then Russia's winning. But it's kind of a loaded question. You know what I mean? My first inclination is to say that Ukraine does have Russia on the back foot. But the answer is more complex than a 1 or a 0, than blue or red, black or white. Russia still has achieved at least one of their known objectives, which was the land bridge. They still have the land bridge. If you try to go off of something simple like casualty estimates, who's lost more people, you can't really do that either, right? Yes, Russia's lost a lot more casualties than both in equipment and in personnel, whether wounded, killed, or otherwise. But that's because they're throwing more into it. Ukraine has had a really tough time, especially down in Kherson. But the amount of ground that they've taken back is undeniable. What's the stream schedule? Is it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Yes, sir, it is. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard right here. Do you think Belarus will fully join the war? No, I do not. And the only reason I don't think Belarus will join the war is because they don't want that smoke. Quite simply, they don't. If Russia gets a second country to intervene, I would be concerned about NATO's response to that. Do you think things will slow down with winter coming? To an extent, yes and no. Like on both sides of that. So one of the things that we look at each time there's a new one announced is we look at any, Ukraine security assistance or presidential drawdown packages. Something we've seen is cold weather gear that's being issued by the West to Ukraine. So the West is trying to set conditions for Ukraine to be able to continue through the winter months. That being said, the winters are absolutely horrid in that area. I'm not an expert on any of it. But if the West is continuing to enable Ukraine for the cold weather, and Russia is continuing to have issues from a logistics perspective, from an equipment perspective, I can see Ukraine trying to continue and maintain its momentum without culminating. Now, the East, I had thought that the East was culminating a little bit, the operations in the East, but they've made quite a bit of progress around Seversk. Ukraine has. Kherson has somewhat culminated, or is beginning to. I was hoping to see more of a foothold established in Kinburn. But that one's also one of those loaded questions, you know. I don't think that Ukraine is going to want Russia to have the time to rebuild. I wouldn't. Now, there's a lot of things with that type of weather, too, that can really be harmful to your logistics chain, not just your personnel, right? Everybody thinks of cold weather and they think of the capabilities of the individual. Think about the capabilities of the gear. What is it, negative 20? You start to have issues with, like, engine oil. Your rifles can freeze up if you're not using appropriate lubricant. Your gear is just going to get beat to shit. And it's going to be unusable. Well, yeah, we're in the Q&A section of the stream right now, boss. I won't be able to catch all of them, guys. I'm doing my very best. Ronnie, why are there red and black bordered areas on the war map? All right, let's take a look at it. So the red and black, the black bordered areas, those were held by Russia prior to the invasion in February. Right, these are the areas that Russia was already, had a foothold in prior to February. Red outlines are assessed Russian control. Here's your legend. Blue dots claimed Ukrainian counteroffensives. These blue slashes here, like in Melitopol, you'll find it up here in Severodonetsk. That's, imagine Wolverines, partisan warfare, whether it be soft-enabled or just folks behind, Russian lines, and causing as much mayhem as possible. And then the dotted areas are assessed Russian advances, and then yellow is claimed Russian control, right? That ISW can't really validate, but Russia claims that they're in these areas. All right, guys, we're going to start to close things out here. If you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, go and check out our sponsor for tonight's episode. This is going to be Euro-Optic. Don't let the name confuse you. They're a U.S. organization, U.S. team right out of Whitetail Country in Pennsylvania. I bought all of my stuff for my recent tactical games competition. I came in third, by the way, on my first competition, and I'm pretty proud of that. I bought all of my stuff for my rifle that I wanted to compete with from Euro-Optic because it actually was in stock, and it said it was in stock, unlike one of their competitors that I had stuff on order for 4 months. You know, I'm not gonna name any names. However, they've got 1 and 2 day shipping. You guys can check the link that's pinned at the top of the live chat. You can also check out in the description. There's a link for it down there. It's going to take you to their socials. I can't link you directly there because, there are firearms for sale there. So it's going to take you to Facebook. And then from there, just go to Eurooptic.com. When you buy something, drop a note in there. Let them know we sent you over. I'm out of here. We're going to follow up on the other stream tonight. It's Nerf Night. We're raising money for veterans. So far, we've done somewhere north of about $43,000. I hope you'll swing by. You get a chance to meet the missus. Go pick yourself up a shirt. Use code JAMSHEED10 to get 10% off. Be good this weekend. Don't choke anybody out unless you absolutely have to. And if you do have to, don't call me. Or do. It's fine. Stay informed.